Hello everybody, and on behalf of WCN, Pymetrics and Meet and Engage, a very warm welcome to today's webinar on the secrets to uncovering the best emerging talent pipelines. We're thrilled to be joined by so many people from across the world, and we hope that you find this an interesting and stimulating webinar. Today's webinar is being presented by Sarah Callery, Enterprise Account Director and Partnerships Manager, EMEA at Pymetrics, Sarah Dennis, an Account Manager at WCN, and Nicola Sullivan, Business Development Director at Meet and Engage. Just a tiny bit of housekeeping before I pass you over to the presenters. This is being recorded, so you can listen back at any time and pass it on to peers. We will take questions via the questions pane on the GoToWebinar, but we might not have time to go through all of them. If we don't, we will respond to you privately. All of your questions will be recorded against your names. So sit back and enjoy the show, and I'm going to hand you over to Sarah Dennis first to talk about WCN.
Thanks, Joe. So hi everyone, it's great to see so many of you join us today. So my name's Sarah Dennis, I'm one of the account managers at WCN, and for those of you who are new to WCN, I'll run through a little bit of our background. We were founded 23 years ago now by our existing CEO, Charles Hipps, and we're still a family-owned business after all these years. Our mission is really to provide an intelligent suite of solutions to the challenges that face those in the recruitment world, specifically around talent acquisition. We have a strong presence in a number of countries around the globe, notably Asia, Italy and the US, and we have over 400 existing clients, many of whom have been with us for a large number of years now. We have a strong heritage and we're known in the industry as a pioneer of talent acquisition technology. We continually receive feedback from our clients that our system is best in class. What we provide is feature rich and we're trusted by a number of the UK's most security conscious organisations. And over to Sarah Callery.
Hi everyone, my name's Sarah. I'm from Pymetrics. I'm an account director. And for those of you who don't know Pymetrics, we use neuroscience and AI to predict the right person for the job while removing any bias from the process. Companies such as Unilever, Accenture, Coty, Rio Tinto and Nielsen all use Pymetrics for their graduate campaigns. I'm going to pass you over to Nicola.
Hi all, and we're Meet and Engage. We're candidate engagement technology powered by live chat and personalised content. Real-time sessions are delivered by your employees to prospective candidates throughout their recruitment journey with you. A little bit later I'll be sharing some thoughts with you today on the importance of engagement when it comes to your emerging talent pipelines.
Thanks everyone. Today's webinar is really inspired by a study that WCN recently conducted with Universum into must-know student recruiting trends. And we're happy to send you a copy if you're interested. All three parties have a vested interest in making sure that emerging talent candidates get the best priority experience that they can. And all three will show you some technologies that really help to nurture them through the entire pipeline. I'm just going to start by getting you through some of the research findings to help put the presentations into context. Sarah?
Thanks, Joe. Okay, so as Joe mentioned, the basis of this webinar was inspired by some recent research we conducted in partnership with Universum, the global leader in employee branding. This research looks at some of the must-know student recruiting trends for 2018. So what we looked at, for this exercise, we looked at 990,000 global applications. 350,000 of those were UK-based. And these applications spanned 250 different countries and focused mainly around the finance, retail, tech, consulting and non-for-profit industries. And just to summarise our findings there, what we found was that it's a much more competitive world out there than it was previously. Graduates who are looking for a new role primarily want the ability to learn and also to be supported in their development. Company culture is another important deciding factor for grads at the selection stage. And they also really wanted to be treated as individuals. So communicating, tailoring your message to who they are and what they're looking for is really key. This information presents a great opportunity for companies to use technology to hone in on these key points. This can be done very effectively using intelligent algorithms to reduce things like unconscious biases, which will lead to enhanced diversity. So to drill down a little bit deeper into some of the statistics, we found that globally only 2% of candidates were offered post-screening. and in the UK, only 1% of candidates were actually offered a role. So competition is very intense indeed. And on top of that, you're also losing candidates. So we found a global offer decline rate of 25% and a global renege offer rate of 3%. And the average UK statistics only fares slightly better than the global. Over to Jim.
So we're going to use those research results as the first opportunity for you to get involved. And we're going to launch a poll now that actually tests which student recruiting pain point you're feeling the most. No answer is the right answer, but what we will get from it is an idea of really what you're experiencing and how we can actually help you to fix those problems. Okay, I think we'll close it there. And we can see that 50% of you find suitable talent from diversity to be your biggest challenge, 21% think it's attraction, and 14% equally think it's dropouts and finding from new sources. So all of the technologies that are being showcased today will help you alleviate these pain points. And we'll start with WCN.
Great, thanks Joe. So bearing in mind a number of these challenges, WCN have created a suite of tools that use intelligence to help you through the differing stages of recruitment. We have our attraction tool to help you approach the market in a competitive, efficient way. We have our intelligent engagement to deliver those targeted messages, helping you easily tailor communications to candidates so you stand out from the crowd. And lastly, we have our intelligent selection, an algorithm that can identify those candidates who, based on their profile, have a higher percentage chance of making it to interview stage. So we've heard the feedback from our client base that posting to job boards can be expensive. It can be difficult getting the right number of candidates and an overall admin burden on the team having to monitor when adverts need to be taken down. So we've created a tool to optimize the whole process. Our algorithm places adverts on your selection of job boards. It enables you to pay per click rather than having to pay per posting, so you can maximize on value. And the really powerful piece is it takes them down in real time, so the moment you have sufficient applications for the role. Now, what's the benefit of this? The benefits are huge, and on our trials we've seen savings of up to 50% off recruitment costs, with the delivery of almost 3 times more diverse, high-performing talent. Okay. Now that you've had all the cost-efficient, brilliant candidates who've come through the job boards using our intelligent attraction, this is where our intelligent engagement engine comes into the next step of the process. So these candidates are now going through the recruitment process. They're checking the application center, and if you think back to some of the research we shared earlier, this is crucial. This is a crucial time to positively engage them. These candidates are interested but not necessarily sold yet. They want to know, how does this company align with my values, and is this the role for me? They need information and not just an old about us page. They need relevant content that really speaks to them. So this is where our engagement engine comes in. It allows you, the recruiter, to make use of the real estate down the right-hand side of the application center. You can set it up to push targeted content out to your candidates yourselves within the ATS. The system can read who the candidate is based on the information you've already entered. So if you're working on, say, a gender diversity, you can display a day in the life video by a female worker, or if you've noticed a sharp drop-off at, say, the interview stage, you can display an interview tips article when the candidate is at the status interview invited. All this can help further engage the candidate, boosting their experience while potentially doubling diversity. It also brings the engagement side into the recruitment team, allowing you to have control over what they're seeing.
Great, and continuing that engagement theme, it's not just within your ATS that you can do engagement. Meet and Engage have an alternative proposition.
Thanks, Joe, and thanks, Sarah. So as promised, I'd like to share some thoughts with you around the importance of candidate engagement when it comes to optimising your emerging talent pipeline. And to do this, I'm going to focus on some findings from some recent research we ran at Meet and Engage. Last month, we ran an online chat session with undergrads to understand their experience of exploring their future options, their future career options, including the recruitment process, and to get their views on what can be done to enhance their experience of that journey. We had a total of 50 undergrads join the Meet and Engage platform for that session that evening, so it was a lively hour and a half and produced some really rich insights, some of which I'll explore with you now. There were plenty of timely reminders. In particular, your reputation as an employer, your culture, and the career progression you offer are all crucial factors in making their choice of employer, as is how they were treated during the recruitment process, which makes sense, right? These candidates are expecting a consumer-grade experience. That's what they're used to in most aspects of their life, from ASOS to Amazon. But to put this into real perspective, the majority felt the quality and regularity of contact with the employer throughout the recruitment process was the most important factor when deciding which job offer to accept. That beats salary, that beats speed to offer. It was the most important factor. And 84% felt that regardless of whether they joined you, the way you treated them during the recruitment process was very important to them recommending you as an employer to others. That's their peer group. And this mirrors IBM's research from last year, the far-reaching impact of candidate experience, which found candidates who felt positively about their experience during the recruitment process were 38% more likely to accept your job offer, and more than twice as likely to recommend you as an employer to others. Again, it makes sense, right? The average application process for an emerging talent scheme can require up to 10 hours of a candidate's time. And that's before the assessment day, and then of course the 6 to 9 month wait post-offer. Given the time invested by the candidate in the recruitment process, we have to think about how we can give value back in return during that journey. And not giving back, so not reciprocating to the candidate, it's not only unfair, but actually can be quite high risk. According to Bright Network's recently released annual research, 88% of students said they would renege. So renege being dropping out before offer, between offer and day one. And 72% of employers in the room on that research launch day said the renege rates were up year on year. What's more, Mattersight's research in 2016 found 80% of candidates said they'd take one job over another based on the connections formed during the recruitment process. So with the average cost per hire in the emerging talent space being over £3,300, that's according to ISE, that renege rate can be both painful, cost-wise and resource-wise. But the biggest surprise from our research was what I'd like to focus on today with you a little more, and that's that employers, or as employers, we're still missing, or at least not optimising, the obvious opportunities to fully engage this group of talented and motivated candidates. Above all, whether we were exploring the group's experience of the recruitment process, or the primary factors when choosing which job offer to accept, having genuine insight into your organisation, and in particular its culture, was critical to this group's experience and decision-making process. And what's more, our group told us loud and clear that hearing from your employees was the most useful way to do this. So why is hearing from your employees so important to this group? So firstly, we're in an age of peer review. It's the norm to seek insight and feedback from our peer group and those who we feel are in a position to give us a genuine picture. So, from TripAdvisor to Airbnb to Glassdoor and even our own personal social media groups, we trust our peers much more than we trust a corporate brand, and that's unlikely to change anytime soon. Our group shared that you can read a lot about a company, but the company comes to life and becomes real when you meet its greatest assets, and that's the people. They also said the way that employees sell the company, their engagement level, their honesty, how they communicate, they believe that they give the insight on how the culture of the company may be. And moreover, authenticity isn't a nice to have, it's a necessity. Our group also felt that hearing honest and personal experiences really distinguishes a company. Only your employees, not a brochure or a website, can do this with true authenticity. Secondly, humans like to belong. We like to recognise ourselves or what we aspire to be in others, all of which explains why hearing from relevant role models inspires our future talent. One student told us, "We need positive role models. When I meet a powerful woman, I feel motivated and energised to become like her one day." And lastly, the more informed people feel, the more confident and empowered they are to perform their best. And this goes for the recruitment process as much as any other aspect in life. Our group felt employers had a role to play in helping them prepare for assessment and selection process in particular. And hearing from those who'd been through the journey, for example last year's graduate intake, was a smart way of doing this. So if lifting your lid on the organisation is key to engaging and ultimately hiring future talent, how do you do this at scale? How do you balance access to your people and your business with existing resource and time constraints? Technology can undoubtedly play a role, and we're obviously talking about 3 technologies today. But achieving the balance between exploiting technology and maintaining a high touch can be a tricky one. Take video interviewing, for example. Our group fed back that connecting without interacting is difficult. In our view, the answer is that technology doesn't need to replace the human touch, instead it augments it. At Meet and Engage, we help our clients reimagine the candidate journey using technology to rehumanise the relationship between the organisation and your candidates. At our heart, we recognise technology can't replace, but instead enhances the personal and human experience that candidates, like our group of undergraduates that night, now demand when choosing their next step. As I mentioned earlier, our candidate engagement technology is powered by live chat, personalised content, where real-time sessions are delivered by you and your employees to prospective candidates throughout their journey. And our soon-to-be-launched live streaming facility just adds to those engagement levels. Using technology smartly allows you to involve current employees but makes best use of their time. You can encourage the engagement you'd get from a careers or networking event, but on a volume scale and just using short bursts of time and input from your business. Our clients are using this to really good effect. After seeing a dropout of candidate or female candidates pre-video interview stage, Diageo now run chat sessions prior to this stage to answer questions and allay fears. The Met Police, for example, does the same before assessment centre for similar reasons, seeing a 20% improvement in performance amongst BME and female candidates. BDO have seen candidate confidence levels rise markedly by holding chat sessions. Prior to chat sessions, no candidates stated they felt well prepared for the assessment centre. Post-chat, 70% of them felt well prepared. Our clients in the consultancy space run an ongoing programme of online chats throughout the 6 to 9 month period between offer and day one, in one case seeing renege rates drop from 21% to 6% in 1 year. And from brand advocacy perspective, which we know is important to our audience's decision making, our clients are achieving net promoter scores based on the chat experience of between plus 50 and plus 80 from a standing start. Importantly, our clients are able to use our technology to respond to the audience's appetite for employee insights effectively and on a volume scale with impressive results. So I'm going to leave you with a quote that sums it up for me. The single biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it's taken place. We might think we've updated our candidates right, we've emailed them about the next stage, but given our audience's expectations, how can we ensure we communicate in a way that has a really positive and tangible effect? It's a really timely reminder that as well as being smart about sourcing, assessing and selecting our emerging talent, we need to be super smart about the way in which we engage them. Candidate experience has never been more important as it is now to this generation of emerging talent.
Thanks, Nicola, and that is a really important point and leads nicely into our second poll, which really looks at the whole issue of renege rates. We would like to know, how big a problem is this for you? So the poll is launching now. Cast your votes. Okay, I think that's most of you, so let's have a look at what those results show. 38% of you is between 11 and 20%. 31% up to 10%, so that's the vast majority having a impact, with 25% don't know. Moving on to the next stage, I'm going to hand over to Pymetrics, who can talk more about how to actually assess and help to ease those issues.
Thanks, Joe. The slides aren't working. Joe, could you change the slides, please?
Sure.
Apologies, everyone.
Okay. One second, the poll results are still showing.
Sorry, guys.
There you go.
So, first of all, thanks, Nick. Great and really thought-provoking. And now I'm going to talk to you a bit about Pymetrics and how we predict talent success bias-free. So I'm going to tell you how neuroscience and AI can help your organisation address one of the biggest challenges in graduate hiring. Who would you hire for your retail business? How do you identify talent amongst a vast applicant pool? Do you keep tapping into the same talent pools year on year? Employers have been actively marketing their 2018 graduate vacancies at 21, typically 21 of UK universities, using a variety of campus recruiting presentations, local career fairs, skills training events, promotions through university careers, services, etc. But what about the candidates that didn't attend one of those universities? Are you missing out on a huge potential talent pool? At Pymetrics, we would say yes, you are. In 2017, for the 2018 graduate intake, the country's top employers have received 10% more graduate job applications so far, compared with the equivalent period in 2016 and 2017. With more volumes comes more challenges. How do you identify the potential in your applications? And how do you make sure that you are remaining bias-free? A typical high-volume job posting receives 250 applications on average. 75% of those CVs are considered unqualified. But what if hidden in there are people that have all the potential to thrive in your company and be superstars? What if they have the behavioural traits to make them an excellent employee or a future leader? How do you identify those traits within a piece of paper? Using innovative technology, such as pairing neuroscience alongside AI, can help you tackle these challenges and improve the recruiting process and strengthen the candidate experience. In a well-publicised article, one commercial brand noted the cost of just 6% of their rejected candidates' stock and spend had resulted in a loss of revenue of over 4.4 million annually. When you're hiring for graduate positions and have high volumes of applicants, this adds up to hundreds, potentially thousands of hours skimming through potentially unqualified CVs. AI can automate the screening process by learning what are the cognitive, emotional and social traits your high performers possess through playing the Pymetrics neuroscience games and then matching candidates to these employees. Using AI for graduate hiring makes total sense because organisations operate at such a high volume for graduate recruitment. This generates a lot of data, which is perfect when you're implementing a solution that utilises AI. By automating the initial manual CV screening, companies who use AI reduce their time to hire by 75%. In a recent article in Forbes, more than half, and actually it's 52% of job recruiters say the hardest part of their job is identifying the right candidate from large applicant pools. Using AI would sharply reduce hiring time and give the grad employers a better chance of winning the best talent. Can you change my slides, please? It's not working. Sorry. So how are Pymetrics going to do this? Our goal is to take a scientific approach to put people in jobs that they will be the most successful in. Pymetrics uses neuroscience and big data to match candidates to best fit companies and roles where they will perform at their very highest. We make it easier for companies to understand what they're looking for in candidates and find the people who possess those traits among a high volume of CVs. We use gamified neuroscience. Pymetrics collects behavioural data from neuroscience gameplay. We apply machine learning and AI to the data to identify common traits in your high performers so that we can predict which other people would be successful in your organisation. One of the real concerns that people have about AI is that it can prolong bias in your recruiting process. And that's actually a real concern. AI is programmed by humans who can have bias. And if the data set that it learns from is biased, then your algorithms will be too. This is why we uniquely test our algorithms for bias, and where we find it, we tweak it to make it bias-free. So how does this all work? Pymetrics uses neuroscience to gather cognitive, emotional, and social data on 77 traits. Using advanced machine learning, Pymetrics builds models based on trait patterns where organisations exist in high performance in a particular role or job family. These models are used to evaluate an applicant's fit for the role. Job seekers then play the games, and we will receive a feedback report on what roles they're suited for. And you can identify which candidates tend to be high performers based on behavioural traits, not on pedigree or on a CV. This allows the recruiter to decide who they should be speaking with. The insight report, the candidate keeps the candidate engaged and improves the experience. We have a 98% completion rate of Pymetrics, and the feedback from the candidates is highly positive. So let's see the games. The 12 games that we use to collect thousands of behaviour data points. Each identifies different traits. The games are very academic in their look and their feel, and this is because they are neuroscience games. Our founders are neuroscience PhDs, and the data Pymetrics uses objectively measures real-time behaviour based on decades of neuroscience and psychology research. Pymetrics has adapted these behavioural traits, these behavioural tests, into an engaging game battery. Through recording an individual's gameplay, Pymetrics collects cognitive and personality measures at a millisecond timescale. We also want the games to remain neutral, to eliminate any gender bias from the start of the process. And lastly, whilst we believe that candidate experience should be fun and engaging, we also want the candidates to understand they are still being assessed. So let's play a game. This game is called Stock 1. The objective of the game is to press the space bar on the home button, depending on which device you play. When you see a red circle, you do nothing. So when you see a red circle, you would normally press the space bar. As we're all obviously not in a room together, clap when you see a red button. And when you see a green, don't do anything. I'm not going to play the whole game, but I just want to check that you're all awake, and I'm going to run a poll. So in the right-hand side, you'll see some options. What traits do you think we're identifying in STOP?
The poll is launched now. So based on what you just saw, do cast your votes. All right, I think that's the majority of you. We have 74%.
Yep, so that's great. So actually we are. So the main thing that we measure when we are playing Stop is actually your attention. We also measure how impulsive you are and actually how you learn. The ability to filter distractions and concentrate on the task at hand in the face of competing or interfering information is incredibly important in most working environments. Occupations ranging from consulting to air traffic control to admin assistants all heavily rely on being able to maintain sustained attention and ignore distractions. Sustained attention is impossible to measure in an interview or in a questionnaire. So as I mentioned at the start, we've got a number of global organisations that work with us, and I'm not going to speak to you about them all, but actually here's just some of our stats. Our results, we believe, speak for themselves. We support clients in identifying high quality candidates. We increase diversity by removing gender and ethnic bias. We are engaging, and we do this efficiently in a way that will save organisations time and money. Thanks, Joe.
Brilliant, thanks a lot. And on the theme of machine learning and artificial intelligence, WCN is also making some strides here, which we'd like to share with you.
Great, thanks Joe, and thanks Sarah, that's really fascinating. So as building on those themes that we've just mentioned, let's say now you're at the stage of, you've gone through the attraction stage and the engagement process, and you're now ready to invite candidates to interview. You're probably faced with quite a lengthy screening process, and where do you start, right? Well, we've created an algorithm that reads the profiles of candidates who've been invited to interview in the past. It looks for similar traits in your new candidates to give you a percentage likelihood that they will be invited for an interview in the future. As you can see on the slide down the right-hand side, it will score the candidates showing the probability on the right-hand side, allowing you to make a more informed decision when you're screening. And what's really powerful is that it will learn over time, so it will develop its accuracy based on what decisions you make. We have clients currently using this, and they've found that it speeds up the hiring process, in some cases down to a 3-day time to hire. It also helps reduce bias in the process whilst increasing diversity and hires from new sources.
Brilliant. So hopefully all three of those technologies have given you some inspiration as to how technology can help alleviate the pain points that you identified right at the very beginning. We're just going to launch a very quick poll here that asks you if you would like any of these organizations to contact you sooner rather than later to discuss the technologies a little bit more. And we'd be delighted to reach out to you based on your responses. While we're running this poll, I'm going to crack on and go straight to the questions because we have had some come through. And maybe if I start with you, Sarah C., how do you ensure that we don't hire clones?
So our models are based, when we build a model, we need a minimum of 50 incumbents within a role or job family that are classed as high performers. The models are made up of tens of thousands of data points, and therefore there's many ways to fit that model. So people will weight differently in different traits.
Great, thank you. And Sarah D., is it possible to use intelligent engagement for specific recruitment campaigns?
The answer is yes, you absolutely can. It's a self-drive feature, so you and your recruitment team have full ownership of the content that displays to the candidate. That will give you the ability to change it to display specific content you've created for campaigns, whether it's a campaign to support your graduate season or specific times of the year. Anything that's current that you want to show to potential candidates, you have the ability to do so.
Great. Nicola, what about, does a good candidate experience matter to some audiences more than others?
Interestingly, it does appear to. So let me just clarify that. I think there are some audiences, for instance, female candidates, where there does seem to be a trend towards certain parts of a recruitment process being more challenging. So more automated, a video interview process, online tests. There is some evidence to suggest that actually female audiences do find these slightly more challenging. And actually, for that reason, we're finding our clients using Meet and Engage and other candidate engagement interventions to make sure those candidates feel well prepared, empowered and informed to do their best on the day. So I think there is some evidence to suggest that actually more diverse or underrepresented groups, female candidates, BME candidates, maybe those who are from social mobility or from underprivileged backgrounds potentially, I think there probably is some evidence that actually candidate experience really does matter if you're trying to improve your diversity and inclusion.
Excellent, thank you. Sarah, one question for you around, how many games does Pymetrics actually offer?
So there's a battery of 12 games. We ask the candidate always plays the same 12 games, and they can play them in any order they like. That doesn't impact the result. The games take about 20 to 25 minutes to play.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for your attention. If there are other questions that have come up and we haven't answered them, we will, of course, come back to you direct with a suitable response. We really appreciate your time today, and we hope you've enjoyed this webinar and found it stimulating to apply to your emerging talent recruiting campaigns. From WCN, Meet and Engage, and Pymetrics, thank you so much, and goodbye.